I haven't really seen them.
No helmet today?
On my Thanksgiving week.
Heck, I know.
I had 100
I knew you were, how you doing? I knew you were gone, but I wasn't sure where it was.
Yeah, I burned me right here. And I went in and they found out there was fluid in there. So I had it for a long time, 5, 6
Long
years.
day of screen.
Yeah. Mesh or whatever.
I busted through mine. I got the stack of them and I busted through that.
Really?
That's why I can't use this.
Well, the guy was telling me that, they got a commercial about that screen being bad. The fact that he said that's not the stuff.
Hey, go.
Yes. Don't open the envelope, it's got glitter in it.
You don't? Oh, yeah.
Close to that Verizon deal or what?
The status right now is that we are discussing the 2 or 3 minor issues that Kathy has.
Hi.
And
Hi, Mayor, how are you?
I'm doing well.
now,
Still on the table?
What is all this stuff?
Yeah.
they,
3,500 is out of the question.
they're holding at 26 right now, and we have countered with
Put this
3.
away.
So,
Matt, how are you? Sorry, I was...
no, not the last.
I didn't see that.
Last thing that, again, she lowered it to 3, and she's waiting for a response from me. And the 2 or 3 other issues, which I don't think are going to be a problem. Right now, the status is we've given them a final summation, revised lease, with the 2 or 3 things that we said we wanted from the start, and that they have not responded to.
Notice of access and electricity.
Right, we've given them everything that they said they had to have.
Early on, then we discussed that.
That was-
Even before yours.
That was the first meeting, that they'll have their own generator out there.
And then he even sent me a revised drawing where they're gonna have a little more area
Right.
for their LP tank
Yep.
instead of generators. So it's all about what we're gonna do.
Hi, how are you feeling?
Yeah, that was something that Kathy wanted clarified. I didn't necessarily think it was an issue because
She's asking me.
look, it's going to be one or two things. Either ComEd will give them their meter, in which case you're set, or they won't give them their meter, in which case we'll pay the bill and they'll have to pay us back. That's what the lease says now. And I don't have a problem either way.
She was asking me,
She believes that
It'll be minimal.
that it's a determination that should be made now as to whether they're gonna have the meter or we're gonna have the meter. But the lease right now does provide for either or. So, and again, I think we should get through it. I do. I think their experience in the past is the towns have been desperate, and they'll say, well, we're giving you 25 and that's it. And towns give in because they want the grading. But bottom line is this is a brand new water town. That site is better than any of them around it, and you're a municipality, and you give them a lot of security that they don't have when you have just a plot of land and a tower. In those cases, they sell them. Right. We have zoning and all the rest of that stuff. With this tower, they're ready to go. And they, again, it's secure. We get a police department that can address issues in it. Give them access 24, not 24, but if necessary, we can arrange things. So we're offering them a lot of things that your average tower
Present, how are you?
doesn't offer,
Present.
including height.
Tired.
So were you out late?
Are there, they just gonna pull
Were you out late or did you have like last Thursday?
Yeah, right. So I think it's just,
I was dying to.
right, they're just saying, what it's going to do, walk away.
Serious cases.
Tell them, yeah. No, we have to have this tower. Just want to make sure all the board knows that that's where we're at right now. Because we're
Yeah,
on the last
leave
step.
you me.
they called him, I called.
Lori, long time no see. Yeah.
project.
Oh, this is the wrong one.
This is weird.
That's all concrete.
Right.
I sent you everything, all the documents from Ember.
Up to blast page. Up to blast page.
For
Intergovernmental agreement?
I can't.
The intergovernmental agreement?
all the documents, there's all kinds of.
Yeah.
Keep your cell phone close by people get
Trustee Crowder.
We're just getting started here.
I got your cousins.
You know,
I
we
got
have
your cousins.
No,
Another one?
I sent it.
Monday, that's December what?
Oh, today's that would have been the 18th. Hey, Joe.
No.
Carl?
I don't know why. Yeah, I'm good. I get it from everyone from the village.
You don't know
Maggie.
Right.
the police
Did it come to my
department.
village? I'll send it again.
You there, Kathy?
I did get whatever you did for the
I just
cousins
wanted
thing.
to try to hear
Okay.
an idea of how much those cars are costing us by squad number to maintain, to repair, so when they start costing. Okay, that's fine.
No, it's got glitter in it.
Oh,
Got
you
glitter
know what, it
everywhere.
came from my person,
that from?
sorry,
Ready?
sorry.
All right, let's get this show on the road. At this time, I will call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian on December 20th, 2017 at 7 p.m. Roll call.
Trustee Caveney?
Here,
Trustee Crowley?
Here.
Trustee Gillis? Here. Trustee Ivan? Here. Trustee Killily? Trustee Kreis?
Here.
Mayor LaRue?
Here.
You have a quorum.
And as you can tell, Trustee Cavney is sick, but she is attending the meeting via telephone, so please speak up so that Trustee Cavney can hear us. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening, we have representatives from Proven IT to give us a presentation, so I understand it might be a lengthy presentation, so let's get started.
We don't like lengthy resolutions.
Perfect, I don't, that's, all right.
Yeah.
You got my vote.
I gave you guys all a packet up there, that was the original email set, that was September, regarding public software. I was told that we were to get proven on board, make sure that it was compatible with our IT system, our computer systems, if they agree that it is, and then trustee Ivins suggesting I come here and you guys on a short presentation on this. So we have the gentleman, Terry Keeloff from Public Works Software, he can do a quick web demo, and the IT office, who are here to answer any technical questions you guys may have. So, Matt, I texted him, he said that he's ready to go now, go to meeting info.
Did he provide that to you? Did he provide that to you?
I didn't know. He made it sound like you knew, so.
Yeah, I'd say get him on the phone, just if you want to have him send you the go-to-meeting information, and from there we can get that spot on. Do we want to go and start with our aspect and what we can...
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're not wasting a lot of time. The last time we were out here, we were discussing, looking at the technology that you're currently utilizing from not only the internet with Comcast and the multiple accounts with Comcast, but then there's the accounts with Call One, the accounts with Birch, the accounts with First Communications, the overspending in regards to the T1s, and the over redundancy that's really not delivering that great quality of service. So you're looking at that as saying, all right, well, how can we get creative, and how can we deliver a solution that's not only going to be a good solution for the now in regards to potential savings, but then also a solution that's really going to help drive the future here. So with that, that's where we put together a few different options here. So can everyone see this first of all, or is this not? I can angle it a little bit differently, but...
We're good with that, Jerry.
I can see.
You want to lower the lights at all, or?
Yeah, we can do that.
Thanks, George.
And this computer thing is fun, man, that's awesome.
Technology problems for the technology people. Shocking.
So we brought a couple of phones that actually are part of the solution for this holistic recommendation, but really it's not, it's a phone. It's not plugged into a cord, so we're not going to turn it on, but this actually just gives you that, this is what the phones would look like, the digital display, all of that. So, but going forward here, so looking at this, so current financial summary. So breaking in, looking at the holistic picture of your copiers, your accounts with Call One, Birch, Comcast, First Communications, and from the First Communications, that's really not even on them, it's with Simco, that's an old provider used to have. Simco's no longer in business, and with that, First Communication took that. Then there's the current backup solution that was in place that is just strictly a file backup. So basically, it's taking these images of the files, and it's backing that up off-site, but if that were to go down, you're having to go and sift through a bunch of files, not knowing exactly what they are to find, it's a needle in a haystack type of scenario. So overall, the current monthly spend for the copier's voice, the internet service, and the disaster recovery is $53.70 roughly on a monthly basis. So you can take a few dollars here and there for, different charges for long distance and whatnot, but with this, a few things that I want to point out. With the Comcast accounts, that's Comcast Business Class Internet. So what that means is it's going to be a shared type of environment, type of connection. So when more people are streaming on YouTube, or more people are in the area, kids get home from school, they're going to be playing their video games, that's going to slow your environment down. That's just how it is, because all the other businesses in the area that have this Comcast solution, it's all shared. So with that, we were looking at, all right, how can we get creative? How can we put together some potential recommendations to maybe eliminate that, come up with something better even? The first communications, you're spending $696.02 roughly on a monthly basis. That is not being utilized at all. So that's something we're going to, that's going to be wiped out completely, but it was set up to be some sort of a backup phone system to the Birch account or an old account. And so that's just basically a loss that you're being hit with there. So the call one, basic analog lines, it could be anything from a fax line, a security line, elevator lines to, just something that's going to be plugged into a fax machine. So taking all this into consideration and then looking with the Birch account and what your spend is on that end, we said, all right, let's go and say, all right, here's this holistic solution with an apples-to-apples scenario with the current backup that you're spending on that $124 a month. So what we're saying is, let's go to First Communications. We are partnered with First Communications, Birch, Call One, AT&T, Comcast, and all the other service providers. First Communications is one of our favorite providers because they work very well with our team on implementations. They have a very good response time when there's any type of issue for one of our clients that utilizes First Communications. They get on the phone with us and help resolve the issues as quick as possible. We have direct path to the CEO for First Communications. So on that end, better quality of service, we're able to fully manage that, and we have that direct connection. So this 50 meg fiber, this is dedicated. So for you to be hitting 50 meg, you're going to be getting that at all times, and it has to be 99.999% uptime to be classified as the type of circuit that it is being fiber. So that's where this Comcast, we even left this on here. With the Comcast, sometimes it might be close to 100. Sometimes it's going to be down to 50. And sometimes it's going to just drop off and you're not going to have internet connection at all. So with that, what we were saying is, let's take the fiber, let's utilize that for the actual landlines plugging in. So when you go and plug your computer in, not using the wireless, you're going to use the fiber. And then we're also going to utilize the 24 call paths. So that's going to be basically your phone lines. So with the phone lines, this allows it where any of the numbers that are calling in, that's just going to pick up a path. So think of it almost as a highway. All right, so 24 highway lanes that you have. Call comes in, takes up one. Call, you're making a call out, that takes up one. It's the same exact, basically, plan that you have with Birch in regards to the voice over IP service, except we're putting this over the 50 meg fiber rather than a couple T-points. So we're able to do this in a cost-effective way then. I am estimating taxes into this price, so the actual quote they provided is lower, and I'm not taking into consideration too that they are also, First Communications is also offering a free month of service. So you're going to have that free month completely waived. I'm doing my best to see if I can get a second free month waived, but we're still in that negotiation process. So basically that $15.35 after tax, full-on usage, unlimited local, long distance, all of that, that's what that's going to consist of. Okay? So then we have, I'm going to skip the phone system portion for a second. Then we have the Comcast 2 accounts. So Comcast Business Class Internet, Midlothian Fire, and then we have Comcast Business Class Internet still keeping this, I mean, we are literally not changing that 100 meg at all that you currently are utilizing. So really, this is your current scenario that you have right now that you're using for your internet connection. Now we're saying, all right, we're throwing this on here, utilizing this, and instead of utilizing the Comcast for just overall everything internet bandwidth, we're going to say, let's utilize this for the staff wireless. Let's utilize this to have a guest wireless. So we can come in, guest comes into the environment, they can go log on, and it's fully secure, and they're not going to be able to get into your network. That's going to be fully blocked off. But it's just that added, sense of value. Now, do we need 100 meg? That's something that we could always renegotiate, drop down with Comcast, save a few bucks here and there. That's all well and good, and we have no problem doing those negotiations and working towards that. I did add, and the reason why this pricing went up a little bit is I did add 4 analog lines that were with call one, because with that I have fax to email on here. So fax goes in, and it actually can be sent to the proper channels as an email. So now you have more of a secure method of getting these faxes coming in. And then if we need to actually utilize the line for a fax, we can do that. We can utilize for alarm lines, all of that. That's what these 4 analog dedicated lines would be. So that's why we were just transferring it from the call one to the Comcast Business Class Internet with this package. Comcast for the Midlothian fire, for the one station, I mean, we're really not even changing a thing there in regards to their internet package on that. So the Acronis file backup that we have, apples to apples, is literally just going to be taking backups of the files where that's going to be stored, and that's going to be that. So then we go to the phone system, and we have these plans that the phone system includes 50 phones in total, and those are the phones that you have up there. So with that, you're going to be able to have that working over the first communications fiber. We're going to cut off a piece of that fiber because, frankly, phone traffic there's not much of a need for, you're not going to need 50 meg. You're going to need more like 1.5 to 3 meg. So we're going to take that away, take that to make sure that that doesn't even get touched by anything else. It's going to be stuck with the voice so that we can guarantee a good quality of service. Because if there was a little blip in service for a second, on the data side, a web page loads half a second slower. An email sent half a second slower. But if you have that on the voice side, you're going to get garbled speech, dropped calls, angry people that are on the phone with you because they can't understand what you're saying. So that's why we want to build in that good quality of service so that everyone has a good quality there. So with the phone system, there's also a few additional features that come with the phone system. So auto attendance, we would be building this as technically each department would be their own entity in the phone system. So a call comes in this line, that would be recognized as this was the number they were calling, and it goes to the right triage. Same for all of the different departments. Because this is a voice over IP system as well, we can utilize it as taking an IP phone where you just plug in your password, your username to get into the phone system, to get into your actual phone, and you're logged in to wherever. So it's almost like where your extension can follow you. There's also a mobility feature. So the phone system does come with mobility 10 licenses, and with that, the licensing will actually make it where you have an application that we would set up on the certain individuals' phones, and the licensing is very cost effective. So if we need to get more, we can get more. But from there, you have the application on, and you can call out, and it's actually calling out as that's the work number, not your personal cell phone number. And the other individuals that are here can see the presence on, am I available, am I not available, am I in a meeting, whatever, they're able to see where you're at. You're also able to have it where I'm on the phone with a customer, a client, whatever, and I can say, all right, well, now you need to speak to my project manager, I'm going to transfer you over. So you can literally extension dial and transfer back to whoever you want that call to go to. Back here, where you're not really giving out your cell phone information, personal information, you're not having to give that out, and it's an overall good feel for that outside party calling because, I mean, they don't know that you're out, they don't, you know, they think you're here or whatever, they're calling your business number. Any questions so far? I know that we're talking about a lot here, I want to make sure that we're doing a good job conveying this. Questions? No? No. So with bundling though these services, we looked at it as how can we deliver this full-on phone system, the fiber, all of that together, and we're looking at it as bringing it to the copiers, and that's why these two gentlemen are here. And they're on the copier team for us, but so the copier side, going and replacing the copiers, and then also the printers too. So, and bringing that all into one package. So this phone system and this package here with the copiers and the printers are all together then. So then we can make it as cost effective as possible, handling the implementation fully, and then also having the maintenance with all the copiers and the printing, which we would be able to see from the print volumes to, you know, the ink, all of that we would be handling, and then also on the proactive side of coming out and doing proactive visits, proactive checks, and getting things handled properly. It's the same with the phone system. So we would actually be taking a backup of the phone system. So let's say building gets hit by lightning, surge protection, the battery backup doesn't, it was a powerful lightning bolt and it fries everything in there. Well, what we would then do is, it's a 5-year full warranty on all of the aspects of the phone system, so the actual hardware, the licensing software, all of that. The problem is now it's going to take time to rebuild all this, which, you know, we can't be down. So what we can do is warranty's all included for the new phone system. We get a new phone system implemented because we have these on-site spare parts. And we take a full-on backup multiple times a year, and we take that off-site. So then, really, it's just a copy and paste mentality. So that phone system's fried. Really, it's just going to take an extra hour for us to get out here and copy-paste and put that new phone system back on with what that actual imaging was from everything. It's, you know, the voicemails to the call tree, the call routing, all of that, which, I mean, this is a big project. I mean, you don't have a backup of it, that can take days. So we're now having it where instead of days to rebuild this, it's going to be less than 2 hours. So I think that's something that's extremely beneficial. And the nice thing with this system too is it gives you the capability of growth. All right, so you own this phone system now. So this 60 months, once that's done, you own it. So
Technically, you own the phone system from day one. That you take ownership of the phone system from day one.
So why I like that is because if we were to go, for example, you're currently utilizing Birch. If you want to go and switch to another provider, it makes it much more difficult because now you're actually having to build and redo a full-on phone system implementation. With that, you're kind of handcuffed with that vendor. Well, because we're partnered with all these vendors, I want to have it where every 3 years, because that's the contract term of First Communications and all these other vendors, 2.5 years out, we're going to do a reassessment because fiber pricing is constantly changing. There's always talk of potential Google coming out here and building their own fiber network. So we want to make sure that we don't have to re-implement a new full-on phone system solution if we're going to be able to go and move forward with a different vendor that's going to give us a much better price. So that's the method to that madness. And overall, with us supporting it, I think the biggest, that'd be awesome. The vendor management is extremely critical. So First Communications, obviously that's important. We're really not changing much on the Comcast side. But with us now not having to work with Birch, not having to work with Call One, we're eliminating other providers that makes it more difficult for troubleshooting. We can eliminate cell phones and cell phone packages to some extent. I mean, I know it's, in the end of the day, it's all based upon the department and user and how they want to go about that, and we would work with them. But if we can utilize that and find savings, because all it is a license. You're not paying for anything to utilize that phone. All it is it's the licensing that comes with the phone system. You put that on your cell phone, and we can fully manage that. So, person leaves, terminated, whatever, they can keep the application on their phone as long as they want. We just disassociate them from the phone system, and that's that. So, next slide. So, There was that where we were saving the holistic package. Again, we want to go back a little bit. Oh, yeah.
So the current financial is 53.
Current financial is 5370. Now go to the next one. All right. So with apples to apples for the backup, keeping the same exact, basically with the 2 Comcast accounts, just utilizing it in a different way, and now bringing in fiber, which, I mean, this is dedicated internet. If you hit a threshold where you're not at 99.999, we start going to bat of getting reimbursements or we get out of the contract. So that's something where we would be managing that for you. You get a full-on new phone system, better maintenance package on that. We're actually building the phone system. We're not going to have it where it's shipped out to you guys and we're going to just wipe our hands of it and say good luck. We're going to make sure that it's set properly to what each individual department needs, to what is those thresholds on different times of the year, holiday greetings, to each user, each phone would have even 5 different voicemails if they want so. For whatever it might be, they don't have to re-record a voicemail for whatever time when they need to change it. So that's all included, and then it's just the apples to apples file backup. The next one is, all of this is the same, that's all the same. The only difference here is we have that data backup disaster recovery solution, which this is our true recommendation because looking at your servers, looking at your environment, your servers are older. They're a little bit, we're pushing that limit on, we want to get another, I believe we were saying another year out of it, right, Carl?
Yeah.
So we want to try and get another year out of the servers. And from that, the important piece of that is what happens if it dies. Well, if we're only having the file side of it, we're going to do the best we possibly can to bring it back. We're going to do the best we possibly can to streamline things with sifting through the files and working with everyone to bring it back and being some sort of operational. But it's still going to be a timeline of you're going to be down. I mean, there's just no getting around that. We're not going to be able to utilize the files as efficiently as you currently are because it's now it's not all structured on how it should be. This data solution, Data is one of our preferred vendors for backup solutions. This is going to take on full snapshot imaging of your environment. So instead of taking the files, it's going to full on take the image and like what we're doing with the phone system backup. It's going to take, this is exactly how it was built with all the files, folders, everything, the rules, policies on what people get access to. And I'm going to take that, copy, and then I'm going to go and have it where it's an on-site device. So we would have an on-site device right next in the server room. It's going to take full on those images there. And so then technically if a server dies, I can temporarily use that as a server. So we're not down. We're able to continue to work while we figure out what's that next plan of, are we going to get a new piece of infrastructure in here? Can we try to bring that server that died, bring that back? Whatever, it gives us options, it gives us time. Now, the real disaster recovery aspect of it is we're going to take that device here and it's automatically going to be at a certain threshold, so whether we set it to be once a day to every other day, whatever that might be, it's going to take those images and I'm going to have it to be an infinite backup, so it's going to go back as far as it needs to, and it's going to go to 2 geographically redundant data centers. So if water damage, pipe burst, fire in your server room and it wipes out everything, I'm going to have your servers then within 4 hours spun up in a data center, and I'm just going to point the connections from that data center to wherever we are working, whether it's a different building and we need to work there temporarily, or we're able to salvage some things here, whatever it might be. I'm able to keep everything as is. You guys are working. It would be seamless on your end because you'd be actually seeing it as this is very similar to your setup here because it is that copy and paste mentality. And then once we get that figured out, I can then go and take everything that we've been working on in the cloud and bring it back into the new device that's here. The other advantage of this is when you do eventually upgrade to new servers, I can go and cut my labor time to implement new servers basically in half, which is huge because this is going to go and yours is, I mean, these are on-premise servers. And so with that, I can go and basically set it all up where I'm going to put it in the cloud temporarily and have it all properly backed up. So then my guys can have everything set up with whatever, if it's physical, we're going to set it up here physically, and then just take it and plop it right back down into the new box and we're good to go. If we wanted to go a blend in a hybrid scenario and go to, we want to go to some to having it on premise, and we want to go to some that's in the cloud, so Amazon, Microsoft, whatever. All it is just taking it and redirecting it. This is going here, this is going there. It's easy. I'm clicking just some buttons where it's not as much labor to go and get things properly implemented. So on the long term, it's definitely more beneficial, and I would also say too is with this on the vendor management side, with trusted vendor up here, Comcast is Comcast, Comcast is second to dead last in customer service every year, AT&T is dead last every year. So that's, we're going to do that best we possibly can, but with that, at least we have the fiber, and this would just be your wireless, and keep on checking that. You're fully backed up in data backup disaster recovery, which in my opinion is the most important piece, because if you lose your files, if you lose your data, or what you even see more of days with the security side of it, ransomware is a very popular thing right now. You're hearing a lot about that, where ransomware attack, you'll go and these guys will say, you need to pay us in a certain amount of Bitcoin, and you'll get your data back. It's only 33% successful that you get your data back when you do pay it. And that information that you have on there, I mean, critical, personal, from employees, staff, and whatnot, to other, financial records, to, whatever it might be, it would be extremely difficult to bring that back. With this, I can go and say, all right, if we were to get attacked, because, in the end of the day, it could be as simple as clicking on a wrong email. I can go right back to, whether it was an hour or the day right before that attack happened, and we're right back to normal, and then we get the FBI involved, and we start working with, who was the attacker, and get them involved to, solve that ideally. So this is our true recommendation. So I'm going to click on the next. And so completely with what we're providing here, you'll be getting billed from First Communications for the fiber, the voice lines, all of that. But that includes the long distance and the usage and all that, so it should be right in with OM and with where we're saying it is. Then with us, it'd be the bundled solution of the voice over IP phone system, the disaster recovery as a service solution, and the copiers for $33.60 monthly. And then we're utilizing Comcast for the guest internet and the staff internet, the wireless. And vendor management, efficiency, quality, and then future savings. And if we're able to help and be more efficient with support, with dealing with technology vendors, with even just being able to deal and work with everyone here and just upgrading the technology, we're able to be more efficient. So on that end, I see future savings from not only the implementations of upgrading additional technology, but I see it as well, you're going to make our lives much easier for support. So the monthly support, when that comes up to be renegotiated, I see that as a potential cost savings. Looking at what we want to do for upgraded servers and whatnot, this gives us options where we can go and really create a competitive advantage of, do we want to go cloud, do we want these cloud providers to fight for our business and give us a good solution there, or do we want to keep it on premise? It just gives us more options. So, all right, I did a lot of talking.
I would like to add that this is like the first phase, I would think, for a phased implementation approach to upgrading everything, up to more current standards. And it gives us a solid backbone to build all their future needs on, where we can either go to the cloud or we can stay on-site if we wanted to move forward.
This is a foundation. This is extremely important. This is from the backup and then bringing in fiber. Those two aspects are extremely important, because that is, nowadays, if you don't have internet connection and that goes out, or if your files and your server and everything dies, you're not able to work.
I think one of the things when we've been having these meetings that was important, at least to Carl and I, was we're trying to look out, to be fiscally responsible as well. And based on the negotiations you were able to do in that, with going to the recommended solution, we'll actually, to start out, be paying $10 a month less
Correct.
than we are paying right now for the services that are subpar.
That is absolutely correct.
And then after 60 months, when
Saving over $1,000.
it'll be $1,000.
More, I mean, after 60 months, by that threshold, I mean, I'd say even after 36 months, because this price, I mean, it's gonna go down. There's constant, I mean, every single time we will renegotiate it, we're gonna try to knock it down 15 to 20% of
So-
that monthly reoccurring. So 36 months, this should go down, and then after that 60-month term of this with this, now you're talking about an additional 1,000 plus monthly savings.
Right, because you will own that phone system and you won't have to repurchase a phone system within that next 60-month term.
And then we just continue to support it, and then we take you to whatever provider's going to give us a good implementation and work well with us to a good quality of service and good customer support on the back end, and then being cost effective. We will not recommend a switch unless we see it as there is good savings here and it makes full sense to do so.
Yeah, so right now, essentially $10 a month less than what you're currently spending in your budget, but you don't pay anything for a phone system. We're essentially giving you a new phone system for the same price, $10 a month less than you're doing now. And anticipated, based on what Matt's saying about this quality, being able to make our lives easier to support you, we could potentially see that number 5,300 somewhere closer to 4,000 at the end of 5 years, which is, now we're talking about a real improvement and money then that can be reinvested into other areas of technology within the village.
Or not even technology.
And not even technology. We like technology.
Any questions? That we didn't cover a lot, so.
Can we get a copy of the?
Yep. Yeah, I can send a copy.
Under your current quote, how often is the server being snapshotted from
I
that?
mean, that'd be daily.
Daily right now, really?
I mean, that's not.
No, it's not.
That's not going, so, wait. So on the current scenario?
The one that you're recommending,
No.
you didn't.
The one that I'm recommending here, I would say daily. The truth is it's not going to affect the price of it.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Daily, hourly.
Okay.
I can build it from different departments doing, an admin side, they might need it, daily or.
And that's not gonna affect the price.
Every other day, yeah. And then the police department, it could be every other hour, we're taking a backup, and that's not going to affect the price. You just look at it as you're doing that, and you're creating more and more data.
Right.
And that's where we have right now built in a complete threshold where we have plenty of room, but it's looking at it as the future, as we get in 3+ years, do we continue to need that backup that's, from 3 years ago? Or is that something now it's just replaced? So that's kind of how we can build that.
And then under the printer package, we have contracts still in place. You guys buying out those
Yep.
contracts and replacing all the equipment?
Yes, Proven will give you dollar for dollar on what you currently owe through the remaining contracts that you have with Impact. All equipment that we're going to put in is improved over what you have, which is a minimum of 4 years old. And the speeds are faster, the equipment is more durable, and all equipment is brand new.
There's brochures for each piece of equipment too. I can pass them out too.
We have the same equipment at the villages of Crestwood, City of Evergreen Park, City of Blue Island, Village of Oak Lawn, City of Oak Forest. So our municipal, with the hardware in the municipal areas around here, I'm leaving out a ton of them, but the Village of Alsip is a 13-year relationship of ours.
And that's also one that we're working with the Village of Alsip with the same exact aspect of the phone system as well, and the fiber, so.
How much faster is the fiber again? Is it
Technically, that's extremely difficult to say because this varies all the time. The cap you're gonna get here is 100, but that's 100 download, whereas actually on the upload aspect, it's only gonna be 20.
English. Sorry.
Well,
Do the highway, if you're the highway thing. That's
So
how I
think of it as if you're pulling something, so you're on the internet or someone sends you an email and you're gonna click on that, that icon that has that attachment and you're gonna download it to bring it to your computer, you're utilizing this, right, at 100. But if you're going and saying you're utilizing an application, I'm working with Public Works on the new application and I'm going to take some sort of document, whatever, and I'm going to take that and put it up to, whether it's the cloud, whether it's, somewhere else, that's going to be the upload speed. You're going to get 50, 50, 100% of the time because that's what it is. I could go up to 100 meg, but now we're talking an additional 200, $200 to $150 monthly to go up to 100. We can always do that upgrade. I see it as this is where you're at right now, and this is a huge improvement because on the end of being cabled in and plugged in, you're really not going to know the difference. That's just the truth of it, where now we're utilizing this then for the wireless, we're separating this then for the voice as well, so it should all work very well together.
So the fiber optic, though, is a constant speed versus Comcast, which could be a variable speed.
Yeah, the 50 meg, you're always here, where Comcast can be here, 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 here. It's all based on depending on the day. It's what's going on in the neighborhood. A lot of times with organizations that we're working with that has a school around, or schools where kids are going home, you'll see around like 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, their bandwidth just slows down, and that's because the kids are at school. So yeah, and the other thing too is, I'd say the even more important thing is there's no SLA here. So Comcast, when you're down, Comcast is out, they will say, we're going to do our best to get this up as quick as we can. That's it. There's no contract that says like, all right, you have to have this up in a certain threshold of time. No, that's not how it works. It's just that we're going to do our best. And a lot of times they'll say, it's not us, it's your hardware, your switch or whatever, it's on you guys, and that's where we come in. We're working with them to troubleshoot that and point the finger saying, no, Comcast get out there and fix it. But here it's, if this is not up 99.999% of the time, you are getting reimbursed, or it will be a breach of SLA, and you will get out of that contract because we're going to be working on that. So they have to provide this quality of service, and it's regulated. So I think that's a very, very big value add. And that way it's really, if this were to go down, we can fail over to this. If this were to go down, we can fail over to this. It just gives us a lot of different options, and it really, the likelihood of it being down, because these are two separate infrastructure pieces as well, where in the end of the day, in the area, technically, AT&T used to be in a monopoly, they had to deregulate. Now you have all these other providers that are able to sell AT&T's, service. It's their infrastructure, but they're putting their own bells and whistles on it, and they're focused on the small to mid-sized organizations, not consumers. So they're going to give a much better quality of service to us, to all of us, because that's what they're focused on. That's their niche. Comcast, completely separate infrastructure. So these two are fully separate. So it does give us the best chance of them not being down at the same time.
And as time goes on, there's more and more fiber optic lines coming into the neighborhood and stuff like that, because they just built a big center in Oak Forest. That's a clearinghouse for fiber optic for the south side.
So that's why we continue to check and check and check. And when we get to that point of that contract, and you have to watch it too, because they'll say, you're past that 90-day or 60-day auto renewal point, so we got you for another year, we're going to have that document. So 2.5 years out from that first communication when ending, we're going to go back and say, all right, we're going to just re-audit it. Let's make sure that, let's find some savings, and let's look at what's going on in the market. And if we can, it's crazy when they do build out, they continue to build out more and more in the area. We have it with some where this could be cut in half. So,
It's constantly going to be upgraded and upgraded and upgraded.
It should also increase the speed, like if we're talking to the county, or if we're talking to the state, or if we're talking to anybody in the cloud, because I think our payroll system is the only system we have now that's on the cloud. So,
And that's something too, where it's looking at when the time comes with the servers, what do we want to do? We do a lot of times it can be a hybrid scenario where it's some cloud, some on-prem, because it's just, however it works to be more cost effective for you. But yeah, that I would say, all right, if we're going more and more cloud, I'd say bump that up to 100, but by that point, ideally price it more cost effective. We could just do it with First Communications to say, bump us up to 100, because now we're going cloud, and the benefit of going cloud too is, in the end of the day, Amazon, Microsoft is going to do a much better job of security, reinvesting in technology than any other small and medium-sized organization can do, because they have more funds, and that's what they focus on. So, and with that, it's really not an upfront fee, it's just a monthly recurring fee for that, and servers are very expensive. So if you want to do it on premise, if you want to get something that's going to last, it's going to be an on-premise, and that's going to be an expensive piece, and that's where we have options on that.
May I have one piece that's in here?
Okay, can I ask one question real quick? Is it stuff stored on the cloud or in the cloud?
So technically it's in the cloud.
Thank you.
So
it's official now.
In the cloud, thank you.
So that's where your payroll is in the cloud right now.
Could be on the cloud, no. One thing I wanted to add real quick, that's part of the maintenance program. Chris and I we dissected your guys' meter read. So included in this price is actually almost to a T of what you guys are actually doing on an annual basis as far as printing concerns are. So you won't see a bill from Proven and then a huge overage bill that you're not aware of at the time, and the extra bills that could come in with some contracts, which it includes almost 370,000 black and white copies for the year and just north of 34,000 color copies. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of what's being put into that maintenance agreement.
It's right in alignment with your current volume. We do our best to keep that all for budgetary purposes right within your current world. And if there are any fluctuations at the end of each 12 months, we will either adjust that up or shrink that down. Which if you lower your printing output, we work with you at some tips and solutions. If you can convert more color pages to black and white pages, there again is an opportunity for more cost savings for the village. So we conduct quarterly business reviews, share those findings and data, and just make sure that it's a good partnership and that everybody stays on track with some of the goals we have.
One of the things, and I'm not sure if I understood it correctly, but right now we're billed per printer or per copier. With the new system, it's accumulative. Is that kind of the way?
Yeah. So everything is included. Everything is built in. Everything is built into the price. Currently, you have this lease from Wells Fargo, which does include some of your monthly maintenance costs. You also then get billed separately from Wells Fargo on other printer costs, and then quarterly, your printer provider is sending you an overage bill because your original contract didn't include enough maintenance. So you're seeing a quarterly bill in addition to what you're already paying. So we built in a higher allotment of copies for you. And we've also significantly reduced the rate that you would pay if you were to go over. I think over half. Is that correct?
Definitely on the black and white overhead, yes.
The color as
The
well.
color was definitely decreased by, I think, 5 cents.
By close to 50%, so. And all of this, everything that we've talked about here tonight comes with full 100% anytime you need it training. Like Matt said in his, this is not a solution where you you do this with us, we dump a phone system on you and say, have fun, figure it out. We will be on site, we work with every person, we will touch every phone, work individually with each individual, both on the phones and the copy systems themselves. And that's not something that stops, after 30 days. There's no expectation, of what's going on. We can do it in group settings, we can do it on an individual basis, but you have full service and support from our company for the entire term of our partnership together.
Yeah, and I'd also say too is with the phones, like, we will probably have it where there's some that are almost more like that admin type user because that's what they want, and that's where they want to be able to know exactly what's going on with the phones. But I'd say too is with the maintenance plan, if you need an extension changed, send an email and my guys can make that change immediately. You need an auto attending change, holiday greeting change, whatever it might be on the phone side, just do it. Just send us an email and we can handle it. And you don't have to worry about that and going and figuring out, all right, I did this about 3 months ago, I can't remember exactly how to do it, but I'm going to take my time to figure it out. Just don't waste your time. Just let us do it and we'll run with it.
Yeah, our company currently, in the 5 zip codes that are surrounding this area right here, we're actually performing on the hardware side at a 2-hour and 45-minute response window, which is just absolutely incredible, and we're very proud of what we've done to be able to do that. Industry standard says anything better than 4 hours is acceptable. We're down to 2 hours and 45 minutes. So everything that we need hardware-wise is headquartered out of Tinley Park, and so parts, everything like that is all stored, warehoused. So you're never going to have a technician that comes out that cannot fix something. Each of our technicians drives a truck between $10,000 and $15,000 in stock parts in the truck. And we've got, this year, at the end of this year, we'll go over 45 hardware technicians, 45 trucks on the road. And obviously, with our headquarters being 15 minutes from here, the closer you are to home base, the stronger your clientele is and the more technicians you have. So everybody around here in this area is extremely happy with the solutions that we've been able to provide.
One of the problems I noticed with Impact was toner charges, and they charge us a delivery charge for dropping off the toner. Is any of that?
We won't charge you anything for that. Or I'll come drop it off.
Okay. I mean, it was like $20, so.
Yeah, that's, and Impact is a good company. They're headquartered up in Lake Forest, Illinois. So they face some logistical challenges when it comes to shipping, something that we really don't have to deal with, in this area here, being headquartered so close.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you
very
for
much.
your time.
And you'll get a copy of that to someone, and we can share it with everyone.
Yeah, I'll make sure I send it out.
Thank you.
I gave you the login information on your phone.
So now we're going to go to the pub work stuff.
Yeah, he's in a hurry.
If we had fiber optic, it's probably faster.
Don't give poor Matt a hard time. He's going to deal with me all day. I heard that, Chief. Nothing.
So we're downloading something right now.
Do we have a phone here? We can conference him in right now while I pull this up.
Kathy's already on.
have them set up in a second. My only thing is the speakers are gonna be on this, so, I'll see if I can even pull them up on my phone so we can get them loud enough.
Thought you were gonna hook it up. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there we go. Start installing them right away.
All right, here we go.
Laptop speakers.
I'm gonna dial from my phone. I don't know if all the others.
Yeah.
Is Kathy still there?
Kathy, you still there?
Hey, can you hear us?
Kathy?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay.
Trustee Crowley's anniversary today.
What did I do? What did I do?
It's all the anniversary.
Is your,
Oh, yeah.
your 40? You said.
Nah.
You're spending with us. How you doing? Good. So this is Matt, we got Joe, and pretty much everyone else here. Should be over here. Hold on.
It's on.
Let's try this. Jerry, talk. Jerry? Yeah, can you hear us? Can you guys hear okay? Do we want to put that up there maybe? Yeah. See if this works. Here, Jerry, try now.
Hello? Can you hear me?
You guys hear him okay? Chair. All right, so. What was that?
Is there a speaker on the bottom of the phone?
You have it, there's the speaker, he's got them right here, so, here. Chair, well, I have basically everyone here right now, so why don't we just go through, why don't you go through before like you did, just that webinar that you did for me, so we can keep it just very high level on what this, you know, the value that it's going to bring here for Public Works, and then holistically with the village. All right?
Okay, wonderful. You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, now, that's perfect.
Okay. So, first of all, thank you. We'll go through this. I'll give you a good overview, and we'll make sure we get all your questions answered when we're done. So, what the village is looking at from PubWorks is really nearly the complete suite of our software products, except the fleet maintenance solution. And what PubWorks is really designed to do is help public works entities deal with the things they deal with every day. They're out there, they're touching assets, whether it's a road, whether it's a hydrant, a tree, a facility, a sign. They're doing maintenance. They're using staff hours, equipment, materials, and all of these things have cost to them. So at the core of everything we do is that asset management and job costing. And we will allow the village essentially to track any kind of asset they want. So you can build a database of streets, parks, facilities, anything that you want to build. So just for example, if you want to pull up a street, and I'll pull up Babbitt Lane, we can see a lot of information on Babbitt Lane. It's very powerful in that way. Not only am I seeing the basic attribute data of Babbitt Lane, but I can see everything that resides on Babbitt Lane. I can see there's a sign on Babbitt Lane. If I want to click on this sign and get additional information on it, I can see, and it's a stop sign. And I can look at additional information on that stop
sign inspection on 12/7. And if I click on that, I can see that this sign inspection actually was part of a service request. So as I'm circling down here, service request number 2067 that came in. So it's being able to get that really good overview, not just of the road, but of all the activity that also goes on with that road and the maintenance cost. And then once you start tracking this information, you can do a lot of really neat things. For example, if you want to run what we call an activity filter, well, gosh, we did a lot of work last year in 2017. And just by the way, it may, if I get ahead of you with me clicking and you being able to see it, stop and tell me. But we can see all the work that we've done last year, labor, equipment, materials costs, but maybe you just want to see how much did we spend last year on pothole repairs. And the system will break that down very quickly for you. How much did we spend on pothole repairs in my district? Okay, so it can break it down by district or ward. You can look at all kinds of activities. Or how about that snowstorm that we had last year? Okay, so I want to look at that snowstorm from March 10th. We spent $29,000 on that. I want to break that down into a quick report. Show me that snow summary report for this particular storm. And just give it 5 seconds here. And it breaks it down. Well, we spent 444 hours in man hours on that snowstorm, and overtime hours, labor cost, equipment, get out to the person in the field. There's three options, and we can do any of them. One is they could print the service request off, and then that would go out. The person would go out into the field, fill out the paper, somebody brings it in, Kristen, for example, puts it into the system. Number two, it can be emailed out to them. Or number three, we have a mobile application that will allow your staff to be out in the field. You get requests as they come in, and their tablet or their phone, Android or Apple, will buzz just like that, similar to if you have a text message or an email to let them know they have a request assigned to them. So staff could actually access requests in the field and complete that work in the field. Okay, and I'm going to come back to the mobile briefly in a few minutes, but those are the options of how it gets in there. For the sake of the demo, let's say that Kristen's going to enter this information. So Connie Pemberton went out, she dealt with this ice removal issue, excuse me, and she's just going to add work. So when she clicks on the add work, we can see that this is going to fill in, and you can see it's filled in the service request number. It's on 10 Babbitt Lane, and I'm Connie Pemberton logged in. So I'm just going to say that I was out there for 3 hours, and what did I do? We'll call it, we did storm cleanup, and I used the John Deere 410 for 3 hours, and I dumped some salt and sand. Let's use one where I have some quantities in there. I dumped some salt, sand in there, and you can see it totals up that cost. So really easily, based on your labor, equipment, materials, Public starts tracking all of these costs of what the true costs are to maintain the assets in the city. And then it gets saved out. So it's a very clean, very straightforward, very powerful process when you want to get additional information out of the system. Another thing you can do is you can use all of this information and to do a look ahead, for example. So I want to do an asset search. Show me all my stop signs. We'll just so stop signs that have not had an inspection done in the last year. We're going to go out and do those. Okay, so now instead of 532 signs, I can generate a list. There's 42 of them. Now with this 42, I could create a work order with all 42 for someone to go out and inspect them. I could print that work order off and map the list. So now the system goes out and it finds all these stop signs and displays them on the map. So here's where those 42 stop signs are. So Publix has a bi-directional link to the GIS. So for example, if I want to run a query or a filter just like I did and view that on the map, I can do that. I can also go the other way with it. I can say I want to click on a particular road, for example. Beverly Ranch Road. Show me the Publix data for this road. So you can see now we're at Beverly Ranch Road, and I can look at all kinds of information that I want to look at on Beverly Ranch Road. And that's where the power really comes in, is being they're driving around in the field and they see a pothole and they want to document that, they can actually document that right from their tablet and geolocate it. So they can hit a button that says geolocate and it'll pop the coordinates for that in, so you can then visually see where all these potholes are on the map. So there's all kinds of scenarios and things that you can do with that. And then with our work orders module, you have the ability, the village will have the ability to establish preventative maintenance plans. So whether it's closed circuit TV inspections or, whatever you want them to be, facility inspections, hydrant flushings, culverts, tree trimmings, you can set up these reoccurring maintenance plans. The system will go out and find all the assets, and then you can create these assigned resources to it and create the work orders and track all of the costs that you spend annually on the preventative maintenance. And we also have in Public Works the ability to track projects. And projects, don't think of projects as your typical projects like a road project or a reconstruction or whatever. It could be anything, a main break where you have, for example, multiple departments involved and you have to track all kinds of resources. So for example, you get a main break in the winter where you've got to fix the main break, but then at some point down the road, the street crew has to come out. You have to repave the road. There's some landscaping involved in that. You may have some contractors involved. So just being able to track all of your different resources associated with the project. So you can say, how much did we spend on that project? Or this is particularly helpful with if you ever have a FEMA event, a big storm or something. We have several customers who have used our FEMA capabilities for hurricanes and mudslides and all kinds of different scenarios where we've been able to really help them streamline that process. So the bottom line is the system's really designed to give you a lot of power to be able to track and manage your assets and the cost. And then ultimately, as you know, what that does is it gives you the ability to have information and make better decisions. So that's a really quick 30,000-foot flyby. I can dig deeper into any area you want me to, but I'll open it up for questions.
Hey Jerry, this is Joe Sperry. You can hear me, right?
I hear you.
Are we limited to just the computers in the Public Works or the Village Hall be able to have access to this in the fire department? Be able to communicate with each other?
Yes, we give an unlimited user license, so we don't charge per seat or per user. So as long as they have access to a server, the Public is on, they'll be able, as many people as you want will be able to access it.
Okay. Yeah, what I was thinking is the fire department goes out and they do fire hydrant inspections. At this time, they usually have to print out a report and hand it to us and all that. They could download that information and would go right into the system, right?
Yes, or they could even, if they wanted to take that a step further, depending on how you wanted to allow them to do it, if they had our mobile application, they could actually enter those inspections, pull up that asset out in the field that they're flushing, and document the work right from the field.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, yeah. Okay, that was my only question.
I have a question. I'm familiar with the software that I used in my previous job called Maintenance Student. This looks somewhat similar to it, and I believe you guys used it at one time. You still do? No? Okay, maybe Rick did at one time. One of the biggest obstacles that I was aware of with this type of software is the training aspect of it and all the input that's needed. And you mentioned Christian doing it, but do you do training for the workers, so like the supervisors,
Yeah.
everybody?
They provide the training, so I mean, it's really as much as you need training, they'll actually provide it, and that's something too where, I mean, we'd also be able to help too, because I mean, it's something we're gonna have to be able to manage through some of the stuff.
Yeah, because like the hardest part I see is like Mike, you know, you're gonna need him to do a lot of input with a lot of his, you know, preventive maintenance and stuff on vehicles and things. And that could be an obstacle, so you may have to have somebody else as a backup person too. So, okay.
How does all the information get into the system as far as the cost to solve, the cost of?
We would, let's say we're out in the field, well, the cost is solved, we would just have to input that.
So you would have to do that?
No,
all that
so
stuff?
it's part of the implementation on working with them where we're gonna, really it's providing as much of the documentation that, you guys already have.
Yeah, we already have
Providing
one.
that
Yeah, I
over
see the
to
data
Jerry.
conversion
Yeah.
thing, but
So
we
provide-
have everything somewhere that can be
I mean,
sucked out.
I can just add to that question. I mean, this is common with every installation we do is you have information on your cost of labor, you have your equipment and materials, and I know Kristen has a lot of that in Excel right now, or you may have it in another system. But as part of the implementation process, we want you to give that to us, and we'll bring that all into PumpWorks. So when we show up to train you, we're training you on your actual data that you have. So it's a very streamlined process. We've done this hundreds of times. We work with 600 public works departments, and we really have an efficient training process. And it's all interactive. We'll come there, we'll work with your staff. We can do some one-on-one work at their desktop or in a classroom environment, really whatever it is that you need.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Chief, over the summer, South Suburban mayors and managers came out and pitched us on GIS mapping, and they went to you guys about it, they spoke to all the department heads. None of us have use for it because we have a records management system and CAD system in place, with the exception of Public Works. And I believe as a board, you guys voted to retain their services one more year. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 5,000 to 10,000. So if you guys do that, they would no longer have it because they have GIS mapping in their system.
That was something I was going to talk about.
Right, if you guys have the ability to terminate that contract or just not do it next year, it'll be a cost savings for us to get away from that because Public Works was the only one to use it.
Does anybody have any more questions for Jerry?
I guess my question would be, is the training, the cost included in this, in the total program cost?
Jerry, is the total training included with what you have quoted out?
I believe we had 3 days of on-site training figured. And we'll work with your staff, we'll set up an agenda that matches, your needs. Every place is a little bit different, and some of it depends on the technology proficiency of staff and, how many people there are, but it's done on-site in a very interactive. So, for example, I'll show how to create a service request, and then we'll have 10 or 15 minutes where the trainees or staff will practice entering service requests, and I'll walk around and we'll address questions they have. So, and then also as part of our annual maintenance agreement, we do have free follow-up web training. So if somebody needs some follow-up or still isn't quite getting it after we're there on site, we can jump online with them for.
I think onboarding of a new employee. I mean, like right there, that should be part of the onboarding process of they have a new employee starting. All right, this is part of the guidelines for your training. You're going to go and do that online webinar. That's going through and learning the lifeblood of what we're doing. Because I mean, if you're going to do it and pay for it, I mean that's where it's only as good as how much you actually input the data. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Bye.
Yeah, as Dan was saying, we're paying about $8,300 a year for the South Suburban Consortium.
I think so, yeah.
Because the other departments have a GIS component in their software, and we were the ones that didn't have one. We were using it for us, and Carol was using it for some mapping. Even if we can't do something, we can use Robinson for a couple of maps here or there, some projects, some special projects, we can save the money there. So look at it that way, it's $8,000 a year, so the first year of this is $13,000, and it goes to 2, so within 2 years, without using the consortium, we got it. And right now, currently, we use Access, so it's kind of old school. We went out, we measured for, let's say, our fire hydrants or our water valve locations. We measured off the street, so many feet off the center line of the street. We had to input all that information, we took pictures. Now, there's another thing that I budgeted for, which is like a receiver, a GIS or a GPS receiver. The guys will go out there, and it'll take time to collect that data, but they'll walk along and they'll collect that data, they'll go right into the GIS mapping. Those maps have different layers, so if we want to look at fire hydrants locations, valve locations, and at each one of them, you can click on a particular asset, and you can see what's been done there, what needs to be done there, and as you were saying, Joe and I were talking earlier, the fire department already goes out there, and they already have iPads, so they'll be able to utilize this and it'll go right into our system, rather than them give us a sheet of paper, and, things get lost in the shuffle. I'm also thinking that the front office will be able to access this for shut-offs, turn-ons, any kind of service work. Maggie and I today were just speaking about that, and sometimes she was asking the gals up front, they were saying, well, we used to just text Tim directly, sometimes Tim's not here, so we gotta have better records of what's going on, and who did what, when, so we're more accountable for work that we're doing out there. So these are all the reasons that,
Joe, potentially they can enter service tickets for shut-offs and turn-ons and things like that, right?
yes. And as you guys know, Tim resigned suddenly a couple of weeks ago. His last day was Friday, so I got 2 other guys that have always been doing the job when he wasn't there. So we're gonna meet with Maggie, maybe you guys, there, and we're gonna try to get a conversation going on how we're gonna handle shut-offs and clarify a lot of things. Things were kind of just done between 2 people, 3 people. I want to make sure we have a better system going forward on shut-offs and how to handle things like that.
And Kristen will have enough time to do the input that's necessary, or this will kind of replace what she's doing in Excel?
Right now, she's writing it on a legal pad.
Okay.
The problem with that is when she's not there.
It doesn't get
One of
done.
us grabs the phone, and we write down a quick note,
Yeah.
take care of it, most of the time. Sometimes it sits there and somebody thinks someone else did it, so this is gonna be a way better track.
Okay.
And then there's been instances, with grants, we need information.
We need data.
Data, so it'll be easier to find, pull this data, FEMA, like you were saying, another blizzard, we get reimbursed from FEMA, we'll have all that stuff. That, we do now, but it takes some time to find it, dig it up, and it'll all be in one place, it'll be better organized.
Thank you.
Don, any questions?
No.
All right,
Thank you.
Well, thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank you all.
Now, we sat and listened an hour and a half to you guys, now you have to sit and listen an hour and a half of us. Where you going? All right, we'll move on to trustee business, trustee Price.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a Merry Christmas, thank you. Okay, the first item under my agenda, and Joe, I sent you, and you were copied on this, update of the South Suburban Land Bank and Development Authority regarding pins for the MWRD Natalie Creek project. I think when we embarked on this project, I had informed the board that Brent Denson, who is the lead attorney for the South Suburban Land Bank, had said that there would be costs associated for the Cook County Land Bank to acquire these pins. And he had estimated that it would be $3,000 to $3,500 per pin. And again, keep in mind, they were going to acquire 6 pins for the Natalie Creek project. They've acquired 5. There was a little hitch in the giddy up on the 6th, but they're working through it. And Brent had sent me an email last week that the Cook County Land Bank is requesting compensation of $5,000 per pin for legal and program costs. So I, of course, went back to them and tried to negotiate, and it didn't work this time. Obviously, the land bank the Cook County Land Bank needs to cover their costs. So I just wanted to make the board aware of this. It will be $5,000 per pin. So we will owe the Cook County Land Bank $25,000 for the 5 that they've acquired. When they acquire the 6, that will be an additional $5,000 for that pin. I think that this is money well spent. I can't imagine the status of this project without the land bank's intervention to acquire those pins because of the back taxes. It probably would have cost the village a ton of time and money. I wanted to make the board aware of it. I still think this is a pretty small contribution for an $8.3 million project. So I did reach out to Maggie and Joe about trying to find money for this. There's also a budget, a line item under economic development that money hasn't been spent that the funds could come from. So I don't know if you've identified any other sources, Joe?
I honestly, Karen, I just got back.
Okay.
I didn't have time to look at it tomorrow.
Okay, but I wanted to make the board aware of it because we're going to have to pay it. And then what will happen is once we pay the Cook County Land Bank, they will deed the property to the South Suburban Land Bank, which will then deed the property to the village. We're going to own the property. It's our project, and you know all about the operation and maintenance. You're it again. You're in charge of maintaining it after the project is complete. So anybody have any questions? I still think they've done a tremendous amount of work to get these pins at no cost. Basically, just other than my time having to deal with them, but and reaching out to you, but a lot of work went on behind the scenes to get these pins, and it was difficult because of the bad taxes. So, no problem, anybody? Well, at some point, we'll be getting the invoice. I just wanted to let everybody know, okay?
And the 6th one, what do you think?
Well, on the 6th one, they went after it through the same process, but the Cook County Land Bank did not notify Brent that there was some type of a structure on the 6th pin, which is some type of a shed. So it was classified different and not vacant parcel, so the redemption period for a pin that has something on it is longer. They're hoping to have the pin by July. We've been in contact with the MWRD legal department in Cedric. They know about it. Brent's been trying to work behind the scenes to accomplish this. I want to thank Ty for going out. He even walked to see what he could find. He went in that mess to see what he could find. A shed. He thought it was an old abandoned shed. So I communicated that information to Brent Denson at the Land Bank. I can't, and you'll see as I give further reports here, I can't thank Brent again for all of his work because he's really helped to get the property that we need for this project. So, any other questions on that? Okay, so on the other economic development front, I sent everybody the information on Cousins, on the proposed Cousins project. I'm hopeful that everybody has been able to at least review it. Any questions, any discussion? I was pretty impressed when I received this information.
I have a question, Karen. I did get a chance to look at it, and I wasn't sure. With the tax break that they're asking for, does that apply to parking lots? Because when I looked at it and I read the description, I thought it was only they had to do substantial improvements to buildings or things like that. And one of the things they're trying to apply.
I guess that would be, it applies to abandoned properties. Does the Class 8 apply to the parking lot?
I would think that it does, but I would have to check, but yeah. The short answer is yes.
Short answer is yes?
probably.
Okay, so it would apply to the parking lot, even though there's going to be no structure on there and it hasn't been,
But he's gonna obviously have to make investment in that property as well. And I think that the taxes on that, I haven't looked, I'm not sure what the taxes are on that pen.
and so it would basically be the structure for that, for the Class 8 works that for the first 9 years or first 5 years, and then they can
He's
extend it
asking
for 5.
for 10 years.
Right, but through the county, can they only get it for 5 and then they request a second?
No,
5?
I actually think I think
Because
that.
I was trying to read it.
I think it's
and
12 years.
12 years. and you can
12
extend
years
it.
total.
Right, 12
Right.
years total.
It's not 5 and 5, though, okay. So
No.
we wouldn't be in a position where we couldn't tell them yes to that or no to that. And then with the licenses that he was asking for, that would still fall under the same requirements as all the other licenses with regards to gaming and things like that. Any new business would have to be,
Well, we told him 60%, when Don and I had the one and only meeting we ever had with him, we told him that 60% of your revenue has to come from non-gaming. But if you look at his business plan.
I did, yeah.
He's not looking at, gaming is a very small part of this. I was really impressed when I read this. We had one meeting, one discussion, and he's really thought this out.
Yeah, I didn't see it till like 3 o'clock this afternoon, so I read it quickly, but I wasn't sure what his intention was with the gaming.
Is there going to be any architectural changes to the property at all because of it's kind of inconsistent?
Well, I think
in the front?
Well, I think he wanted to make sure that this is the first step. So he's got to make sure that the board, again, agrees to this so we can go to the next step, and that would all be addressed in the RDA, whatever the expectations would be. I mean, if you look at the concept, he's obviously going to make a substantial investment in this property, but probably a little bit premature. We need to make sure that these criteria that he's requesting are not going to be an issue, so we could move to the next step.
And then the fire department would make the decision on the sprinkler system, you said, right?
Right, and I looked, I tried to calculate the square footage of the building, and I told him, Don and I told him in the meeting that we had, that he'd have to comply with all village codes and ordinances. But I don't think the buildings would have to be sprinkled. I believe each one is only 1,500 square feet. He's only asking in the building that would have a kitchen and food, it's 30 seats, and I believe our ordinance is 5,000 square feet.
Or 40 or more.
And 40 or more seats. So, those buildings are not that large. But I think what he wants to do is going to just be, it's going to be transformational for that side of town.
But one other thing that you do have to consider, that would also include outdoor seating too, for any areas that if he has any enclosures that he has on.
Well, I don't think he was having any kind of enclosure, and again, I had mentioned to him when I got this, just so I wanted to be very upfront with him, I told him that, I did have a phone conversation with him yesterday, that if you want to have outdoor seating, you have to go through special use. So he is aware of that, and he said that would not be a problem, but that would just be out in front, and then I guess we'd have to kind of think of what we would want that to look like, but that would have to go through the special use process.
So what you're saying is if he has 30 seats inside, he couldn't have more than 9 seats outside without sprinkling?
No.
That would, no.
No, I'm just saying, a lot of times, depending on how he reconstructs things, if he changes any of his job orders or anything and wants to add outdoor seating somewhere or a structure like he did with Cousins, that would have to come into play where he would have to go in front of zoning.
Well, I told him it would have to go through special use, if the outdoor cafe portion. But he is anxious to get started. The Blue Island property that he did the same thing through the land bank, although it was not vacant. That one was not vacant. That one had a user who ran into financial difficulties and didn't pay taxes, and the land bank jumped in and acquired the property and cleared all the back taxes. So he's got that one up and running. He wants this to be his next project, and I think we're lucky because he wants to have his office/headquarters in one of the buildings. So,
I'm with Carl, I think, well,
Can I ask 2 questions?
sure.
and I may not have all the answers. I just got this yesterday afternoon.
Okay, I noticed in the photograph that there is that utility pole that's sort of right in front of where the curb cut would be for the parking lot, to enter the parking lot. Who would be responsible for paying to move that utility pole?
Well, I think that would have, the first thing would be that we'd have to get permission from IDOT, and then that would all have to be negotiated in the redevelopment agreement. That would be one of the issues in the redevelopment agreement.
Okay, and my other question is, do we need to get out our TOD plan and dust that off and review that and see what requirements the TOD plan has for any upgrades to facades along 147th Street?
There's no requirements in there for facade improvements. I don't believe we have any requirements, and that's one of the things that I think we need to start thinking about long-range, long-term, is some type of a program where there might be cost-sharing for facade improvements. But the plan does not mandate it.
Okay, well, both of those buildings do need a facelift.
They do, but I think if you read his proposal, he intends to make substantial investments. So if the board wants to move forward, I can ask him what is his intent for that, and we can have the attorneys start preparing the redevelopment agreement, which we can then get to Ansel Glink, and they can incorporate that in the deed restriction agreement.
Okay, I'm in favor of working with this business owner who wants to invest in Midlothian and, acquire these 3 pieces of property and upgrade them. We just have to be careful with regards to making sure that it gets, properly upgraded, that all old utilities get upgraded, wiring gets upgraded. It's not a requirement that he has any type of sprinkler system. I'm hoping that he will think about putting in some type of fire alarm system.
Well, he will have to. That's a requirement. That's a requirement.
And my other question is, are the 2 buildings separate buildings that just abut each other, or is it a situation like the meat market and Lisa's, where it's one firewall?
It is like that. I had asked him about, and I don't know if that's a firewall between the 2 buildings, but that interior wall would remain.
Okay, but I guess, are they currently, if they're 2 separate pins, well, first of all, is the building set up as 2 separate pins?
Yes.
2 separate ownerships?
It's 2 separate pins, but they are all owned by the same owner, and this is all going to be done via a deed in lieu of foreclosure to the South Suburban Land Bank.
Okay, so we just, I guess we'll have, once this all happens, building and fire will have to get in to take a look at the construction and see what type of wall is in between.
Right, and I did.
It'll make a difference if he intends on putting a pass-through doorway in there so that you can go from one space to the other.
Right, which may be part of his plan. I don't know. I just wanted to get to make sure the board was okay so that the attorney can start drafting this, and we can start to move forward. And he's very willing to work with the village. I think he was Mark Miller told me today in an email, when I reached out to Mark Miller with some questions in Blue Island, that he's just great to work with. I think we can see what he did to Cousins, and if he makes that kind of reinvestment in these properties, it's a win, especially for that side of town.
Well, I have to say, what he did to Cousins is very nice. It looks very nice, and the small back room, the way he fixed it up is nice, but I'm not necessarily sure that it doesn't provide ADA access. So I don't know if there's some code issues going on there or what, but that needs to be addressed.
Well, again, we did not have a building superintendent when that development was, or that redevelopment was occurring. So that could be outlined in the redevelopment agreement that this has to be ADA accessible. It has to by law, so.
So for Attorney Valdez to start a RDA, I think people need to send him what goes in the RDA, not just a vision.
Well, I think it would be basically, you'd have to follow all the
Like
building
a new
codes.
facade, yeah.
Exactly.
Building codes, zoning codes, and all that stuff, but new facade, who's gonna pay, like Trustee Caddy said, who's gonna pay to move the light pole and put the curb cut in? I mean, it's a state road, or state road, so who's gonna pay for all that? I definitely wanna see something done with the exterior, because we don't want.
Well, we should ask for a drawing.
Yeah, a
We should ask for
rendering,
picture.
which I could ask him for that.
But let him know that these are the things that we're looking for, so he doesn't.
We asked for that with right way, that's exactly what we asked. We asked
Yeah,
for a...
for a rendering.
A rendering exactly how it's gonna look before the board approved anything. That's, I think we should go with this on the same page on
Okay.
this one.
And I would ask that the Class 8 not be applied for until the RDA is completed. That's something that other towns are doing now as well. They're not just giving the Class 8,
Right.
hoping things go right. They wait till it's all done, and they say, okay, then you get the Class 8, so.
Did this gentleman ask for a Class 8 or a tax sharing?
Class 8.
Class 8,
For Cousins?
yes.
Cousins?
No.
Okay.
Well, back then, I don't think it qualified. I don't think it was vacant long enough.
Oh, okay.
This has been vacant for how many years? It
Well,
definitely,
that was before Kathy, so that's why I'm asking the question.
yeah.
BK.
BC?
You see?
BKC.
All right, so I will ask him for a rendering, but does this look like we can move forward and the attorney can start drafting something that we can,
As long as the attorney is given information to draft.
well, I think this would give him, the attorney, the draft that I sent him would give him a basis to have some idea of what needs to be included in the RDA.
And the parking issue too would probably be something that might be significant in there. I don't know how many slots you could fit in the one lot. And we had that big issue with the other one behind the bar, trying to figure out how many parking spots we were going to have.
Well, it would have to be, he'd have to follow village code.
Right, occupancy, parking lot for occupancy.
One for every 7 people or something like that?
One for,
Well, no, I'm just saying that there,
6?
Yeah, 4 person.
right.
well, don't we,
One for 6, isn't it?
in our ordinance, doesn't it say how large, or isn't it somewhere how large a parking space has to be? And then it's gonna have to be striped, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So you think it's one for every 6
I think it's one for 6, but like you say, how big how big each space is too is important, not
Right.
just...
Yeah, because that lot right there is very tight, so.
Well, he knows that. He knows that, so.
If I may, typically, the process or protocol would be for the developer or the owner to present to the village board drawings, just as you said, and layouts as to what, and then we would try and plug that in to any redevelopment agreement and apply all of our village ordinances. So he tells us what his plans are, what he wants to do. He gives us a diagram and drawings as to how it's going to work. Then we look at it and say, here's our ordinances, here's what you have to do to fix it, to make it work, here's what you're going to need to do to qualify for the Class 8. If he does qualify, I mean, there's criteria for that. I think what he's asking for is the village willing to assist him to go through this? And so at this point, that's what we'd be giving him, the information that yes, based upon what you're saying, we don't oppose it, give us your drawings, and then we can plug it into all the processes.
That sounds about right.
Okay? And I'll reach out to him to get some renderings. Okay? Fair enough?
Does he also realize that with the gaming ordinance, that I think he has to submit proof of his sales each year, is that right? He's got to, it's not just, okay, it sounds good, it's
Well, he would have
actually,
to, he's
show
got
me
to do,
the,
he's
show
got
me
to do
the
the same
paperwork.
thing for,
He's doing it.
oh, no, Cousins was
No,
away
he
in
didn't do it.
fire.
No, he didn't have it.
Yeah.
Is that microphone on? The portable one?
No, it's dead.
Sounds hot.
You know, he-
Okay, but the board agrees with the concept here, so we can start moving forward? Okay. Okay, so I decided to start digging in on the public aid property. And I had a conversation, and I think Don was there. The day we met, we probably had a conversation after we met with Russ about the Cousins expansion. And he clarified for me that even though the public aid building received an exemption, it does not extinguish back taxes. So, I've had some conversations with Superintendent DeSimone, and my question to the board is, would you be willing to let the South Suburban Land Bank and Development Authority begin to pursue, under the abandonment statute, the acquisition of the public aid building?
I thought somebody bought it at an auction or something, no?
No. On the home pin with the building, there's over $1 million in taxes. There are two other pins for parking. One has over $50,000 in taxes. The other one, about $80,000 in taxes.
Karen?
Yes.
Karen, I didn't hear the first part of your statement relative to the back taxes. Are you saying that there's $1 million of back taxes owed on the building?
Yes.
I thought that that was considered a nonprofit, so they didn't.
They can apply for an exemption. It does not extinguish all of the prior back taxes. From what I have been able...
So there were back taxes owed prior to the church getting it?
Yes.
Prior to?
Yes.
Okay.
Taxes, as I'm looking, go all the way back to 2006. So I reached out again, I can't say enough, and Don knows this, about Ansel Glink and how they handle these situations. I reached out to Brent to see if this would even be an option. And he said that they can file a petition that seeks A, abandonment, or B, in the alternative, a court order that the owner correct the code violations with authorization for the village to demolish the structure if the owners do not take action. We file our complaints with both counts to prevent the owner from showing up and not taking responsibility. I pointed out to him that there's a possibility that somebody could show up, and wanted to make sure that our efforts were not going to be in vain if that did occur. And I also let him know, this is a stack, Kathy, it's about 1 inch thick, of citations and violations. So I just need to know from the board, can I send them the pins and say, pursue via abandonment? Does anybody have an issue with that?
Is there a downside?
There's no, to me, there's no downside. We have a building that has had squatters, graffiti, it's boarded up, it is a blight to the community. There is nobody who is going to purchase that property with over $1 million in taxes on the building, and just for real entertainment purposes, That property was listed this year for $1.3 million, okay? So again, you know, everybody, people, residents say, why don't you do something about these vacant buildings? I have been working relentlessly to try to deal with these abandoned properties. And just so you know, on the nail school, 14712 Pulaski, and on the other abandoned building at 3352 West 147th Street, I received an email today from Kurt Asbruth at Ansel Link that they have, the default motions are set for January 18th, and they do not anticipate any issues, and they are prepared to move forward to prove up that day, because I also have a potential end user for one of those buildings already, as Clerk Moskal and I have been working. So,
Can I ask one question about the church building?
yes,
So once we get the property, what do we do with the building?
what do we do with the building? We market, the land bank will
Why?
market
And
it.
suppose nothing happens.
Well, the land bank would own it. But again, the land bank, we would work with the land bank, hopefully I would work with the land bank, try to find an end user. Superintendent DeSimone has shared with me, there has been some interest in that property. He's had some interest. However, I said, and are they aware of the tax issue? That building could be a demolition candidate, as we all know. I don't know anybody. If anybody would do their due diligence, do a title search, and they're going to find all those taxes, and they're going to walk away.
I'm just saying, in the past, sometimes, the land bank might come to us and say, well, it's not a quick, thing like Cousins is, that they might ask us for holding costs. So, I mean, I would like to get that clarified too, so the board would know what's going to happen if the land bank has to hold on to the property. Do they want anything from us as far as the village, as far as any holding costs in the meantime?
Good question, because that's what you guys told me about
Yeah,
the cousin stuff. You
Right,
said that
right.
this has to move quick because the land bank won't hold it.
It probably won't be that way for the public aid building for right now, for the church building.
And there's still be costs, right? If they acquire it, there's still be costs to the village for them to acquire it, right?
No.
Like what
The land bank,
it was $5,000 per pin.
that is because it's a project, it's for the flood mitigation project. The land bank could not acquire those pins and turn them around and sell them to anybody. That's because this was specifically for the flood mitigation project.
But there is, property,
selling
like
to us.
property taxes, things like that, the land bank
This
pays,
is Kathy, if I can make a couple comments.
yeah.
I have had a conversation with Superintendent DeSimone regarding this building, and he felt that the building itself does have value. He said it's still very solid. It could be used for something, somebody who has some creativity can come and figure out what to do with it, but it definitely has to be, remodeled and brought up to code and updated and yada, yada, yada. So my concern is, and I don't think it's a bad idea if we had the land bank pursue it. I think Karen had mentioned that the building was being marketed for $1 million. Well, the property's not worth $1 million. It's being over-marketed, it's way overpriced.
No, but Kathy, again, nobody's going to touch it with the tax liabilities.
Exactly. So my point is, if the land bank takes possession of it and they turn around and they market it for a reasonable price, perhaps there would be somebody who would be interested in coming in and taking it over. But to Don's point, there would be some holding costs to the village, because as you know, it won't matter who owns it, we're still going to have the same problem we have now with regards to vandalism and kids breaking in the building. So the building will still have to be secured, the village will still have to spend, personnel time to go out there and babysit it and still spend money to continue to have it boarded up when the boards are pulled down. So,
Well, typically, the land bank,
I'm not disagreeing with you, Karen, that it's a good idea to pursue it, but I believe that there will still be some carrying costs involved.
but typically when the land bank takes possession of a property, they take responsibility for the maintenance of the property as well. We can have discussion with Russ about
Yeah, let's just-
holding costs. But again, I'm looking at big picture. There's nothing anybody's going to do with that property in its current state with those taxes. So we can do nothing and nothing's going to happen, or we can move forward and hope the land bank is successful. They're going to have some obstacles, obviously, because the owner can show up in court. But if we do nothing, and we've talked about revitalizing the east side of town, if we do nothing, nothing's going to happen.
Right. No, like I said, I don't disagree with you. If the land bank would be willing to pursue taking this property over, that would be great.
Well, they would have to go through the process. And keep in mind, we entered an intergovernmental agreement with the land bank probably 13, 14 months ago, and we are it's taken 14 months to get to the point where they may finally, after a lot of work, be able to start acquiring some of these properties. So keep in mind, if we tell them, can you start pursuing this through the abandonment process, we'll probably be here a year from now and maybe have a positive outcome. It also may get the owner's attention. That's what often
Well, I was just going to say, if the owner finds out that the Cook County Land Bank is going after this property, that might get their attention to do something.
Well, it'll be the South Suburban Land Bank going after it.
South Suburban Land Bank, sorry.
So just tell me what we do. I think in the long run, since it's such a blight and right now it's stuck in no man's land, if we have to deal with some holding costs, that to me would be a great problem to have if the land bank owned the property.
Right. I think we're in favor of it. It'd be,
Well, I got one question.
go on.
I drove by the property the other day, and I noticed the buildings north of it are all boarded up as well. Is the land bank, or Kathy, are you aware of anything going on with those properties?
Yes, and I reported on that. I met this summer with the representatives from the bank. They are going to demolish those, and we talked about property assemblage. So this would work. We're not going to be able to do property assemblage if we can't work with that public aid building.
Which property is
north
are we talking, the one that has the big garage in the back? Is that the
Yeah.
one we're talking about?
Right. I met,
I thought those were occupied.
no,
They had boarded up yesterday.
No.
Boarded up.
and I did report to the board on that at the time that I met with the representatives from the bank, that they were going to have those demolished, and we talked about, my vision was, we got to get the public aid building because you control all that site then, and you have the potential for a much larger development.
Jerry, are you aware of any historical significance to any of the building, particularly the one with the big limestone foundation out on the side?
So, may I tell them to start pursuing? Okay, and I'll...
What the costs are to us and the holding costs.
Well, I don't know that we would know that right now. It would be something probably in the future.
Give us an idea.
well, we might know. Russ
I
can
can
tell.
I can reach out to
He's
Russ.
done that
So
a few times.
I can reach out to Russ, but I will let Brent know with Russ's concurrence, to start working so that we can hopefully start, now that we've got Cicero redeveloped, start focusing on some of these other areas that desperately need attention. And the only other question I have is, do we have any date certain for the audit, any other update? Because guess what? We have another project manager, so this is...
The fourth?
This will be I think, number 5 or 6, and it's going back to somebody that was a project manager months ago.
We don't have a date certain, no.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Ivan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to make mine quick. During the audit process, we found some discrepancy with the JAWA in the county on the funding aspect of it. So I think I would have a sidebar with you, Don, and to discuss it. It appears that the county is currently overcharging, so we're getting more money than we should for the JAWA bonds, and we may be able to expedite the closing of the bond earlier than later. And the second thing I wanted to bring up was the application for the senior discount on the water bill. This is a rough, well, I won't say rough anymore, it's almost finished product. There are some outstanding questions that are the attached pages. If you wouldn't mind getting back to me on your feelings about the different ones, particular like how we want to go about disseminating the information, whether or not we want to put it on our water bill, or if we want to make it an attached sheet to discuss the discount. The other thing is the application process. Who would make the final, who would review it and approve it? Who would be the person in charge of that? Do we want it the administration or Alan's area?
The clerk's office.
The clerk's office, okay. And then the other things are, what questions for discussion, like number one, if a resident doesn't apply until halfway through the year, should he or she get a credit for the beginning of the year, or should it be just going forward? Does the water bill have to have the senior's name on it?
Yes.
The senior cannot come up to,
Right, yes. Next to that. And the
Yes.
question one is no. You
No.
get the discount as soon as you fill out the proper application.
so no retroactive?
No.
Okay,
So put no next to that.
I did. If a senior cannot come to the village hall to apply for the discount due to physical challenges, can the application?
Yes. Put yes next to that.
That one, yes? All right.
I don't know about that. I think we need to talk about that one.
And I think too, like, you know, we might be able to incorporate something with the senior officer for our program that could help out with that. Right, Chief?
All right, well then the only other thing I want to add then is, Alan, we should probably sit down with Maggie to discuss the whole process in more detail so we can roll it out as quickly as possible.
As the next month.
As of, yeah, we're going to try to roll it out as, before the 20th, obviously. I'm hoping like for the 1st.
Yes.
So I missed it, it was the question, the answer to question 2 was what? Question discussion?
Question 2 should be yes.
Yes.
Was it yes?
Yes.
We're giving the senior the discount. The
The
seniors,
senior has to own the property.
no.
Not
We have senior,
necessarily.
we have senior renters
It could be winter.
Well,
that pay the water bill.
okay, so, in other words,
The
if
senior
the
has
fee-
to have the name on that bill. The senior has to be paying the water bill
the senior,
to get the discount. No?
wow,
What do
you're
you-
getting a lot of, you're gonna get a lot of
Can I
people.
get clarification?
Sure.
Sure.
Who is this?
What's her name again?
Casey?
If grandma is living with one of her adult children and their family, that would not qualify if the family owns the home and grandma's living with the family.
That is correct.
That is correct.
Right.
And likely, if she's living with the family, they would not be falling under the
Yeah,
minimum
she-
usage anyway.
But, okay.
And I thought that our water bill was in the owner's name, not the renter's name.
Most home renters, it is in the home, the renter's name.
Renter's name.
You talking about apartment buildings or in the building's name?
Pretty much anybody can open up a water bill.
So it doesn't,
If you're renting a home,
no, I get what you're saying, but I thought that our ordinance said that we need, that it should be in the owner's name so that there's a liability, and then it can go to 2 billings, like it
We
can go to a
have,
second.
we have ownership names for rental properties as well.
Yeah.
And they are responsible.
They're both
Primarily, the bill goes to the renter.
we're trying to give a discount to seniors that actually pay the water bill.
So,
What was your scenario?
the-
You think of another scenario?
Yeah, sure, somebody changes the name to, somebody just moves in and changes the name on the bill to them.
But are they gonna, if it's a
Then the
family,
discount drops off though.
I mean?
Then the discount drops off. There's no.
Well, if grandma moves in and changes the name to grandma,
But if grandma has 3 kids and...
Well, that's what I'm saying, okay, I
Two adults
understand
worth.
that if it is a minimum, it is a minimum, but
Grandma can come in and apply then, if she wants to put it in her name.
then,
But if
likely they
grandma,
won't.
if grandma doesn't own the property, then they should not be subject to the discount.
that's right.
There are
Unless there's a
seniors
lease.
that, unless there's a lease, but there are seniors that rent homes. So they
Right,
should,
if the senior rents a home, then the senior is entitled to the discount.
Correct.
I'm talking about if grandma moves in with her family, the family is not entitled to the discount. Just because they decide they're gonna play the game and they're gonna switch the water bill into grandma's name.
are you implying that someone's gonna try to cheat this system?
Oh, no, I would
No.
never play that.
Well, let's do this. Any additional comments that you have on the process, please send it to me, and I will discuss it, so offline. That concludes everything I wanted to say about my stuff.
Sexual harassment policy, we have to have this approved by January 15th.
I thought we approved.
I do have that. There's some modifications that
Yeah,
have to be made.
if I could address that. The state just passed new requirements for the policy, so and in fact, I'm not saying that the policy that we've been working on all this time is no longer valid. I'm saying now it's going to have to be matched up against what the new requirements are by statute. So, and we can do that by simply finding model sexual harassment policies that comply with the state statute.
Okay.
I thought the state sent us a model.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what, so, that's what it is.
So,
Is that what you said?
That's pretty much.
do you want to,
I'm gonna
so
say you
you've
have
already reviewed the policy?
I have it, I have not reviewed it.
Okay.
I've reviewed ours, and I have in my possession a model policy that would comply with the state statute, but I haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay, so you're going to review it then, and
Yes.
then we can expedite the matter.
Right, and
All right.
it'll be up to the board if they could, at the next board meeting, if they want to take it full part and parcel, it could be ready to go by the next board meeting.
That sounds like an excellent
That
plan.
sounds like an excellent plan. We only have 2 board meetings before the 15th of January, so.
So
All right.
we'll do that.
So let's plan on that then. Thanks.
Could I bring a question up about the policy that we were supposed to adopt before December 1st regarding the health insurance? That should have moved, I think. It was tabled, and then I thought it was going to be brought back with the revision so the board could vote on it. It was supposed to go into effect December 1st for new employees, and nothing happened, and we're almost...
We didn't vote on that?
No, we did
No.
not.
Look into that.
Yes, I can look into that.
Is that it?
Yes.
Trustee Gillis.
Yes, Mayor. First of all, I just want to review discussion again on the flooring at Station 1 and Station 2. In your packet, there was 3 quotes that Captain Kucharski secured regarding the flooring. These have dates on that go back a while, but they are still good quotes. Just to recap them, I'll give you a quick overview of them. TC Tile only gave us a quote for Station 1. Station 1 is basically old tile that is worn from an installation that the crews did when they were on shift. And it wasn't commercial grade tile. It was, I believe, purchased either from Menards or Home Depot, one of the local hardware stores. And it basically is worn out, plus they had a problem with a water pipe underneath that leaked and created some issues. So it basically is in really bad shape and needs to be replaced. So TC Tile gave us a quote of $7,800. Service Construction Company for Station 1 was $7,870. Landmark was $7,249. Now that includes some add-ons, and you can see that there was different add-ons. Some of them we don't need to include, such as the move the furniture, move the stove refrigerator out, but we do need to move it back in. We don't want to void the warranty by having our guys put it back in when the floor's down. So some of these costs are going to be added and some will be taken off. Station 2 is a completely different animal. That is a glued down carpet that's probably been in there since it was built. And if you look at the quotes, like I said, TC Tile didn't give a quote. Service Construction, their price was $5,041.33. Landmark was $4,622, but there's add-ons of removing the old carpeting and stuff like that, and different things that we would need them to do. And that basically comes down to roughly $6,129.50. This is quite a large amount for tile, but this is not the cheap grade tile. This is commercial tile. I believe it has a 25-year warranty to it. And obviously, we're not going to install it either, so that's why it's more a square foot. I think the price is $5 and some odd cents a square foot. You know, it may look a lot, but that's including labor. Obviously, if you've been in the Station 1 or Station 2 and you've seen the condition of the flooring, you can tell that it's pretty beat up. You know, it's not something that we want our guys to tackle because we've done this before and it's just not worth it. We're basically getting a couple of years out of it at the most. And this is something we need to invest into, you know, secure a decent flooring for the two facilities that we use around the clock. So I did neglect to ask the chief where the funds are coming from. I don't know if it's going to come out of capital improvement, if funds are there for that purpose. I would imagine it would, but
I don't know, there's a couple other things ahead, but maybe it was a
Gary?
yes.
Can I ask a question?
You just did.
Pardon?
Nothing, kidding.
Go ahead, Ken.
Oh, okay. I'm just looking at these on my computer. So the first one in the packet was for TNC, but that 7,800 was only for Station 1, did not include Station 2, correct?
They didn't give us a quote for Station 2, so it's just Station 1.
Okay. So then the Landmark flooring quote, he didn't really put like a grand total on here.
Right.
What did you say the total was?
I can break it down for you. For the tile itself and the labor, and delivery, it's $6,634.40.
No, Jared, what I was looking for was just the total grand total, because on the other one, on the service construction, they gave us a grand total of $12,911. And I'm assuming that was for both stations?
Correct.
And what was the grand total for Landmark?
Grand total for Landmark for both stations with the add-ons is $13,378.50.
Okay.
And for service construction, it would be $12,911.33. So roughly $400 less.
Yeah. My only concern, I noticed in one of these, which one was it? Oh, in the service construction, they're going to install the tile over the existing tile. Is that the type of installation we want, or would we prefer them to strip that tile out?
Well, that's why I'm not recommending them, and
Okay.
that's why I'm recommending Landmark flooring, even though they're $400 more. And if we asked Service Construction to remove it, it would jack up the price more than $400.
Right. My only other question, I think it was on Landmark, is that they were recommending, I think it was the oak base and shoe versus a commercial vinyl base.
Okay,
Would it be better if we had them put in, oh, I lied. I think I'm looking on page 2 of them, and they were gonna put in a vinyl charcoal gray base.
yes, for $320.
Right.
And what
Okay.
color are we going with?
It's an oak chest,
I'm joking. I was joking.
It was Joe's joke with a white base.
With the white base.
smart
I was
ass.
joking.
Can I ask two questions?
Oh, to match the water tower.
Whoa!
I swear that's where I was going.
Never mind,
with it.
blue, right. Can I ask,
Thank you for that leading, Sandy.
can I ask two questions? Or is the type of tile, if it comes up, isn't going to cause us any trouble?
It's under a warranty.
It's not asbestos tile. That's what I'm asking. Number 2 is, are these licensed contractors with the
Yes.
village? All of them are?
Yes.
Okay.
In regard to the cost, do we have a cost yet on the water, the pumping station yet for the repair to the roof yet?
No.
We still don't know that? So I would, based on whatever it's gonna cost to fix that, would be how we would have to apply the priority, I would think.
Well,
Does that-
I'm going to talk to the fire chief and see what his recommendation was, where this money was coming from before I go to step B.
Okay.
So,
I would suspect it would be budgeted somewhere.
I would hope so.
well, we'll find out. So, I wanted to review that with the board. Any other questions? Okay, next. As you know, we had some questions at the beginning of the year regarding areas in town that required sprinklers. And 3 of these facilities, or businesses included Blueberry Restaurant, Grills, and Chairs. Blueberry, we did make a agreement with them back in March of 2017. It was an 8-month agreement to have them have the sprinkler installed. And basically, we gave them an extension of 8 months. And that 8 months expired November 14th of 2017. To my knowledge, there is no sprinkler system installed. And they put up a $70,000 bond. And I guess the big question we need to answer is, through the fire department, we haven't got any information regarding the installation. And Kathy, do you have any updates on Blueberry Hill?
Yes, I do. I spoke to Superintendent Simone yesterday about Blueberry Hill, and he told me that they are in the process of engaging a contractor. He said they had started with another contractor a month or so ago, and the negotiations fell apart, so they're in the process right now of finalizing their agreement with the contractor, and they should be, I was told they should be coming to the village within the next week or so with plans and, application for permit or whatever. So they are in the process of getting that taken care of.
Well, I guess the biggest problem I have is that the agreement that we had with them was for 8 months, and it specifies specifically that they would forfeit their bond if they go past the extension. And it specifically states the date, and it specifically states that should they fail to be in compliance with the date, the village may take all actions in law in equity to close the restaurant and impose daily fines. Also, it states that in the agreement that it does not allow no further extensions in the event that they are in a default, that no further extensions shall be granted based on this agreement. So we're sort of not living up to the agreement that we agreed with them. So I don't know why we weren't on top of this back in November, but I think we're just sort of passing the buck here. And if they're not even starting, they haven't even made a water tap, and it's the first day of winter tomorrow. I don't see them doing a water tap during winter, so they're probably going to say, well, we're gonna need another, what is it?
90
Today's
days.
90 days till the first day of spring, so another 90 days probably to even start it. So, and I'm not bad-mouthing anybody, but I'm saying, we as a board made an agreement that we should live up to. And I don't know what the rest of the board's opinion of this is, but we should have been on this back in November before it expired, not in December after it expired.
Well, I do agree with you. I will say that I was not aware, all of this happened before I became a trustee, and I was not aware that we had this agreement with Blueberry Hill. I mean, I knew we had an agreement with them, and they were required to put in a sprinkler system. I was not aware of what the terms of their bonds were, and I was not aware that their extension expired in November. So I apologize for not being on top of that.
Well, I'm not asking you if you were aware, I'm asking you to ask our superintendent if he was aware, because I believe he should have been aware.
So I just sent out before the meeting this evening the minutes from the November 1st meeting, and when the mayor was discussing some requests Blueberry Hill had, and I asked the question, how were they doing on their sprinkler system, and the superintendent had told the mayor within a week ahead of there that they were coming along and nearly finished.
Oh,
So I think
okay. That's
That they were coming along and nearly finished.
that it was coming
The
along
sprinkler system,
nicely or
coming along
nearly
nicely.
finished. I don't recall the exact words, and I don't have the minutes in front of me, but
okay.
I ask on a regular basis when I come in, what's the status of the sprinkler systems in the properties that require them, and that was the answer I got. So, my fault for not actually going to Blueberry Hill and looking myself, but,
Well, the plans haven't even come across the fire department yet, so.
well, because they haven't have a contractor yet.
That's correct, they've not been delivered to the village yet.
Right.
I was told they had a contractor, I was told that they were moving along just fine, but now what you're saying, Kathy, is that contractor must have dropped that contractor and went with a new one?
That's what I took away from my conversation yesterday.
They had 8 months to get a contract.
Right.
Come on. I mean, you could have signed a deal that starting in blah, blah, blah in October or something, we're going to start the sprinkler. You could have
So-
done that in March.
And we've actually held everybody else's feet
Yeah.
to the fire. I mean, we went through, we went with across the street with Dollar Tree and with Grills, and we made sure, and with JP Flannery's, we made sure that all of them complied.
Okay, well,
We were gonna shut down, I think the intent was JP Flannery's was notified, if they did not get that done, they were gonna be shut down. Am I correct, Clerk Mosco?
Yeah, and the agreement says, again, not that I want any business to be closed.
No, but
we made an agreement, and if
okay,
we,
well, if I can, I'm sorry to interrupt. If somebody can give me a copy of the agreement, I will review it tomorrow, and I will contact the owners of Blueberry Hill myself, unless someone else at the board, either the mayor or the attorney, would be more appropriate to contact the owner to discuss this. Because Superintendent DeSimone is away from the office on Christmas vacation, and he's not coming back till January 2nd. So I will be happy to address this myself tomorrow, or it can wait until January 2nd when Julie comes back.
I think that'd be fine, Trustee Cavney, if you want to speak to them.
Okay, if somebody could get me a copy of the agreement we have with them?
I'll leave it on your desk. I'll leave a copy on your desk.
Do we have, Alan, is
Yeah.
it emailable?
Yeah, I will.
Email it to me?
I will send it to you after the meeting.
And trustee, I can assist you if you need any assistance with any language or action. And I would just also like to say that, to trustee Gillis's point, the village just spent 10 months in litigation in which we had over $10,000 in costs to compel the Dollar Tree to put their sprinkler system in. So I think it's a fair assessment to say that businesses are not getting the message that we're serious about enforcing our sprinkler ordinance.
And I would like you to simply point across the street from Blueberry Hill and tell them the importance of a sprinkler system.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well,
Okay, moving along, Grills is also, we had a agreement with them. That agreement was signed April 26, 2017, and they basically had until November 20th, 2017 to have the system up and running with all codes and ordinance being covered. Right now, the system is installed. There's some minor construction issues that need to be addressed, but the sprinkler system still must be tied into the fire alarm system, which I believe it to date is still not. So, again, we made an agreement, and I know that we gave them latitude because we had some issues, but I think our agreement helps them out and helps us out with the problems we had. But the agreement with the dates were specified, so again, everybody should be living up to their agreement. So again, this one now is over a month old tomorrow, or today.
Are all these,
Have they done,
are all these agreements enforced by the building
I
department?
know that their water lines and their sprinkler heads are installed. I have been in Grills and I've seen that. I don't know if they dug up the parking lot and ran their water line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Everything is done, it just needs, the system needs to be tied into the fire alarm system, which it hasn't been. So again, that's something that, once it's done, we need to verify that it is done correctly through, testing it, but it's not done yet, so.
Superintendent DeSimone told me that there was an issue with the drywall, the sheetrock in the ceiling. It wasn't thick enough to be a fire stop, so they had to install some drywall. So I don't know if that was what the holdup is. I don't know if that was the construction issue that you were
Yes.
referring to, Jerry?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, and again, I know we're shorthanded, a part-time employee, but these are probably the more important issues that we need the building department to concentrate on. So I'm hoping that he can expedite his procedure in getting these in line so that we can have the final inspections done by the fire department and get them approved.
Okay. What about, you had mentioned chairs. Does that need a sprinkler?
Yes,
Yes.
chairs is a big question mark, so I guess we need some direction from Superintendent DeSimone where we're at there, because the alarm needs to get off Bellamia's account and put on its own, which I don't believe it is yet. And
Which chairs need to get taken off of what account?
the alarm,
The alarm system is one system for Cheers and Bellamia. That needs to be separated into two separate systems.
and the system needs to be tied into Burkett's water system too, not into Bellamia's.
Is Burkett sprinkled?
No.
Burkett's doesn't need to be sprinkled.
No,
I didn't hear.
no, it's not required.
Burkett is not required. Is Bellamia sprinkled?
No.
No.
Then why is
They were
Cheers
grandfathered.
required?
Oh, Bellamia was grandfathered, the Cheers was the new owner, so when the new owner took over, we required him to put a sprinkler system in.
Okay, because it's the new owner of the business, but not a new owner of the building.
Correct.
Correct.
Do you have something to say, Juan? Oh.
And lastly, we have Right Way Motors. I was looking at the plans, and I'm really sort of unsure where this is at. I didn't see in the construction meeting notes anything even remotely discussed about a fire alarm system, sprinkler system, anything. And I know that they were ready to be open, and they contacted the fire department, but the fire department never seen any plans. And I believe now, after the construction has been finished, now they're being told that they have to install a fire alarm system or sprinkler system. So I don't know if you have any input on that, Kathy.
Nope, I don't, I'm not aware of any of that.
So,
So just to make sure I'm clear on this, you're telling me that when Right Way brought their architectural construction plans to the village for review and approval, they never went to the fire department?
that's correct. There was no discussion regarding any fire alarm system, sprinkler system. Nothing came across the Fire Prevention Bureau or the chief's desk. And I would assume, as each department, we should have had, the fire department should have signed off on the plans, but they were never seen, never discussed. And a pre-construction meeting, I know happened, I seen that in the plans, but there was no discussion on anything. And I'm not saying it's the building department's fault, because it's the owner's due diligence to follow ordinance and building codes. But at some point, with all the issues we've had with sprinkler systems, I think our building superintendent should have done his due diligence and brought that up to his attention, that he should have submitted plans for that. So you may want to discuss that issue with him too.
Okay, is there any policy, procedure, ordinance that says all construction plans need to be reviewed by the building department and the fire department?
Yes, it's on our permit. Every department head's supposed to sign off on it.
And I think we had a agreement, we had a redevelopment agreement, and I'm sure it's stated in that agreement that all building codes and village ordinances had to be adhered to and complied with. That's standard language in every agreement.
And they are going to comply. It's just the fact that the fire alarm system prints didn't make it to our fire department until this past Friday. And there was some...
Was this plan that included with the original architecture set?
Yes. That's what Trustee Gillis is saying. It should have happened months ago, not the day before they wanted to open for business.
The pre-construction meeting was October 28th. That's when it should have happened.
Last year.
Well, this year.
We were fortunate that...
No, they did it in October.
October 28th of this year, Jerry?
Yes.
We were fortunate that our fire chief, who was supposed to be on vacation, stopped in to review the plans and approve the plans so that ownership or occupancy can be given. So, but that's not how it's supposed to work.
He reviewed and stamped the plans, but the system is not installed yet, correct?
Correct.
So is he required to have sprinklers and a fire alarm, or just a fire alarm?
Just a fire alarm system.
And what day did he review and approve those?
Wait, how big is his building? Yeah, how many square feet if it's over?
Yeah, it's new
Wait,
construction.
can Gary answer my question first, please? When did the fire chief review and approve the alarm system plan?
Friday?
Friday.
This past Friday, so...
15.
The 15th?
Okay, I got it, 12:15. And did they open that building for business?
No.
Okay.
But it has to be sprinkled too? Pardon me?
If it's over 5,000 feet?
It's over 5,000 feet? Wow. The architect's plans were filed way before October.
Yeah, I'm just saying the pre-construction meeting to review them. And that's when the department head should be brought together to I mean, we've gone through this 2 years ago.
Site plan review?
Yeah.
Yeah. Already gave me Class 8 too.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna
So-
shut my mouth now.
So
Okay.
what do we, so wait, I don't
Enough
know,
of
so
this.
what happens now?
He has to take the ceiling tiles down, he has to invest probably another thousands of dollars to put a sprinkler system in and a fire detection system in.
I was only told about the fire alarm system, not the sprinkler system.
Yeah.
Is that before he opens, or will we let him open?
No, fire chief
shouldn't
can't be
open.
allowed.
So we didn't sign off, so I just want to be clear, we didn't sign off because he didn't have the right equipment in place, and now we're telling him he can't open because we didn't tell him he had to have the right, because
No,
I'm so
we're
confused
not
with this.
obligated to tell them.
His,
we wouldn't
his
give him a permit
obligation.
to open if he didn't do it
his
the right
redevelopment
way.
agreement says that he has to follow all the village codes and ordinances.
No, I
and-
understand that, but we wouldn't let him open if he doesn't do that.
Right.
But what Jerry's also saying is that the plans were never given to the fire department for review,
Because
correct?
there were none. And so
Could have been
just-
raised months ago.
Yeah.
What I'm asking is,
Yeah, what
what I'm asking very nicely is, why didn't the superintendent make sure that the plans were part of the package, and why didn't he have anybody else review them?
When he first got the architect's plans. Who cares about pre-construction? When they first got the architect's plans, the fire department should have signed off on that before they gave him the permits. They gave him the permits. This is enough of this. This is enough of this. This is, wrong. And, just to be business friendly too, when the guy looks at the architect's plans, you're not going to tell him he needs a sprinkler or a fire alarm or both? I mean, even if he doesn't bring it up, if it's not in the plans, you should tell him, hey, look,
You don't wait
it's not
till
in the
the day
architect's
he wants
plans,
to
where
open.
is it? You're not going to be able to open up. And still, we let it go?
And with the
There's enough of this stuff.
the snafu we ran into with grills, I thought that taught us our lesson, that this stuff should all be reviewed, needs to do site plan review, go through all the departments. I thought that was rectified.
Can I ask a procedure question? Whoever comes into the village hall to apply for the construction permit for this property, do we have a copy of the permit? Is the village hall supposed to maintain a copy of the permit?
There's got to be some sort
Yeah.
of paperwork, yeah, that would talk about the
We can
permit.
see signed off on it,
Sure.
everything?
Yeah, there's a file for each
There's a file for
applicant.
every,
Right. It's got a little line item for each department that's supposed to initial it in order to get a permit. But we give permits out without having all the line items initialed. That's what's happened a lot.
why don't you, Trustee Kavanaugh, why don't you meet with Attorney Valadez and
Yes.
go over that? Now, I just find it hard to believe, Don, when you first brought Right Way to our attention, they were such a large company and a well-respected company. I find it hard to believe that they would, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I'm kind of with Jerry, is like, it's really on the business owner to do all this stuff, but we should have caught it.
Right, I think,
Right. It's
I
on the
agree.
business owner, we should have caught it.
I think, I agree that it's on the business owner, but if we sign off on the permit, isn't that us signing off saying that we agree with the plans?
Right.
That's
Well,
why we
permits are
have
different.
fail-safe to have every department head sign off on our permits.
Which is why we had the permit.
And realistically, our
Application and
ordinance says that every department head is supposed to sign off, and then the chairman of the department is supposed to be the last person to sign off on it, to make sure every department head is signed off on it. And that's, I was given a bunch of problems because I wouldn't let anybody get a permit until I signed off on it, when I was...
Okay, well, I was not aware of that, and I can tell you, since April, I have not been presented with one permit to sign.
That's because our superintendent, once we got a superintendent in there, it was his feeling that unless there was some big issues, then he would come to the chairperson to discuss them. That was his choice to do that.
And is that his choice?
No.
No, we ran into this problem a long time ago. That's why this procedure was put into place, so that we wouldn't run into this problem anymore.
Okay, well, I was not aware that that was a procedure that I was supposed to be following.
That's, no one's blaming you. We're working out.
I'm just telling you, if I would have known, you all know, I would have made sure that I would have signed off on permits. So going forward, I will sign off on permits. Do I have to sign off on every permit?
Yeah.
Even residential permits?
At least a review, right? But no, I think you signed on everything, didn't you, Jim?
I eventually did it because we didn't have a building superintendent. But once we had a building superintendent, it's not necessary to sign every permit. It's almost impossible.
Right.
Okay.
But again, meet with Attorney Valdez at your earliest convenience so you can proceed with procedure, go over the procedure.
Okay. All right,
All right?
yep.
That's all I have.
You done, Trustee Gillis? Trustee Cavaney, do you have anything tonight?
No.
Well, thank you. Trustee Killily.
Okay, for the next meeting, we want to put on the agenda approval to hire a new public works laborer to fill the vacancy for Tim Kopelarczyk, who has retired. Who will retire.
Tim Kopelarczyk retired?
He will retire, I think, next week.
I think Joe said Friday was
Is
his
that
last
Friday?
day.
Friday was his
Okay.
last day.
He submitted
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, this Friday.
this Friday, on December 3rd or something, gave us 3 weeks' notice, I believe. So we have to approve that to start the process. We also send everybody what happened on December 2nd, that we almost had a boil order, and not for the efforts of Ty Swanson, we would have. So I think I definitely would recommend that the board should commend at a board meeting Ty Swanson for doing exemplary work. He had to do it on his own. He got everything together on his own. Joe Sperry was out of commission, and he basically saved the village, basically. We were only a few hours away from a boil order because we were pretty well done with the water supply from the elevated water tower. So basically, and of course, the scenario happened to be that the $3 million gallon tank is out of commission, so that even put us in more harm's way. Got a cross-connect, fortunately, from Oak Forest, which gave us approximately, I believe, about 5 hours of water, and they saved our neck too, and didn't ask any questions. They just did it. So, Oak Forest gets big pat on the back too here, but Ty just did everything possible. He got Metropolitan Pump out there. They diagnosed the problem. We started the recovery process, talked to Oak Forest. I mean, he was all on his own. The water supervisor did not help him at all. That was on call that day. It was a great job, and we're very lucky to have a guy like Ty who was on there, because we would have been in big trouble. So date when Ty is available and Superintendent Sperry is also available at the same time. Maybe we can schedule, I don't know if that's the next board meeting or not, but Maria, can we find out if they're both available? I think Ty definitely deserves a commendation, and
Absolutely.
it's amazing. It's actually amazing what he did.
The fact that he was able to get a hold of someone from Oak Forest
Right.
on a Saturday morning to
Right.
get that cross-connect
Right,
open.
and they might get the Metropolitan guy out there and
Right.
figure out it was just a switch, but I mean, it wasn't exactly a slam dunk to do that. Al Miner had been doing that for years, and, so it's something very, very important, and it's amazing what he did. We're lucky to have a lot of good personnel, in a lot of departments, and we should cherish them. Newsletter, we're sort of at a standstill with the newsletter, but I'd like to propose something that actually Trustee Gillis talked to me about, I believe, about 6 months ago. And then there's a town newsletter that you showed me, Trustee Gillis, that does it themselves. Basically, they get their own writers and their own reporters, and just put it together on their own. Is that right? LaGrange or Hinsdale? I forget what it was.
I forget too.
Thanks. So, I'd like to propose that, and at the same time, I'd like to ask administration, if there's a way that we could block out maybe a daytime of one of their employees to be an editor 3 times a year to do this, if we could get the writers and the reporters and the photographers to do this. I'd like to